women are often to blame when they can't have a baby.
48% of infertility is a male contributing factor.
We're saying not to blame the woman or the man, but you're going to.
I developed an autoimmune disease and I was so ill. I had a Zimmer frame and told that I couldn't have IVF with my own eggs. I do not wish that on any other person.
What on earth is a hormone disruptor? What does that mean?
People that have the worst fertility are cleaners and hairdressers. What do they both use?
Getting your nails done are a hormone disruptor and can affect your fertility.
Our body isn't set up for this modern world, really.
Apparently doctors aren't willing to listen.
Why have I had 5 miscarriages? Oh, it's just bad luck. You've already got a couple of children. Why don't you just have a hysterectomy? That's not solving the issue, is it? It gives me so much pain when I see people coming to me crying and saying they don't know what to do. There's so much you can do, and there's so much that the NHS can do. We shouldn't have to suffer in silence. No one should.
What's one thing that you think everyone can do to increase their fertility?
I'm going to get bashed at the moment for what I'm about to say. I'm going to say it.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Mind, where we delve into the stories and insights shaping our generation. In this episode, we're joined by the remarkable Liberty Mills, a certified integrative health and nutrition coach, author, and advocate for holistic fertility wellness. Liberty's journey is nothing short of inspiring. Diagnosed with lupus in her early 30s, she faced a challenging path that led her to explore integrative medicine. Through determination and a holistic approach, she not only managed her autoimmune condition, but she also overcame fertility challenges, conceiving naturally at 43, despite being told she had a mere 0.7% chance. Now, Liberty has helped countless women navigate the often overwhelming world of infertility, IVF, and hormonal imbalances. But what truly sets her apart is how she challenges the shame and the silence around fertility struggles. In this episode, we talk about the deep emotional and psychological toll fertility issues can have on both women and men. We talk about the myths that still dominate this space and how identity, self-worth, and societal expectations often become tangled in the journey to conceive. So whether you're trying to understand your body better, overcome any shame that you're going through, which can be applied to, by the way, anything, not just fertility, or you're trying to support someone that you love, this episode will really open your eyes and your heart. But before we get into this episode, if you haven't already and you're interested in how you can grow every single week, please press that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications. It's the best way to get access to some of the world's best leaders and experts around the world, and I promise you that I will deliver even more value every single week. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. Let's get into it. Liberty, welcome to Millennial Mind.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for traveling all of this way. I really want to start this conversation by you just introducing what you do, because you do so many things. You've just written this incredible book, but I know you've helped so many women. So if you can tell people who haven't perhaps been introduced to your work, how would you define yourself and how would you define your work?
So many people ask me that, and I often say, best ask one of my clients, because
bring them on.
Yeah, bring them on, because it's bespoke to everybody. So I help men and women optimize their fertility. So it's often people that have been told they've got a low AMH, or gentlemen that have got a sperm profile that's not quite meeting the markers, that are low, or people that have had recurrent miscarriage, all of those things. And I help them improve those numbers, but also navigate that space mentally and their relationship with themselves and their relationship with each other.
I love that. I really want to actually get into how you were when you were first told that you weren't able to have a baby. Because when I asked a lot of people in the question box that I was interviewing you, a lot of people said that they were struggling with their mental health, with their self-worth, with how they were feeling about themselves. And I think that's one of the most challenging periods in your life to go through, because women are often to blame when they can't have a baby. So talk to me about your experience. You know, when were you told that you couldn't have a baby?
I was 43 and told that I couldn't have IVF with my own eggs. It was that blame. They didn't mention my partner. His sperm was okay. And it was all on me. And it was my age. And I I felt guilty. I really, really felt guilty. And I felt that I was doing him a disservice.
Wow.
You know, I already had a child as well from a previous relationship. He didn't have any. And I'm like, he's chosen me and now I can't do anything.
Oh my gosh.
And it really did put a lot of pressure on our, that's why I work so much on opening up that conversation between couples, because it did put a lot of pressure on our relationship.
Really? How?
Yeah.
How to talk to me about that?
I felt to blame. I was open to egg donor. He wasn't. So then I was angry at him because why can't you have egg donor? Epigenetics proves that, you know, I would have some influence on that baby. And so I was angry at that. He was angry at life, that it was unfair, and angry at himself that he'd left it so long. He was like, why? We were both randomly at Manchester University, but I was
Really?
there a few years before him. And he was like, you know, if we were there at the same time, we could have met then.
Yeah.
You know, sort of angry at life, all of those things. And yeah, it was really hard, really, really hard.
How did you overcome that? Because I know there's a lot of women right now who are probably watching and listening to this podcast, and probably a lot of men who are thinking, we're trying for a baby. It's putting a huge strain on our relationship. Perhaps they don't blame each other, but perhaps they do. How do you overcome that?
Or not even, I think sometimes it's not even blame. People are just frustrated. You know, frustrated, why is my partner not smoking? Or why did they have that one beer? Or, you know, why are they not taking their supplements? There's all sorts of things. You know, I have couples quite often, and then I'll separate them and I'll have one session on Zoom with one and one and the other, and they'll be like, oh, but he, you know, he had 3 beers the other day. And then the man might say, but she's not been taking her supplements and she's not had breakfast the last 4 days. But they've not expressed that to each other. And then they resent each other, and, you know, or resenting around sex just around ovulation days. And then I'd say 70% of my couples who've been trying for a while say they've got no libido anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do people overcome that though? Because if someone's sitting at home right now thinking, I'm feeling really low, I have communicated to my partner, let's say, and they're choosing not to listen to me. Right? And it's just become the only thing we talk about.
That's another thing.
Because that is another
That's
thing,
the only
right?
thing, or the only thing people talk about to you.
Right. And also just calling each other out. Oh, you shouldn't have had that beer.
Yeah.
Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It kind of ruins the fun out of life. You're already miserable because you're trying for a baby, and that's meant to be, you know, the focus right now. And then if you do want to have a beer with your friends, or you do want to go out, or whatever it is, you don't want to skip breakfast in the morning, you didn't have time, you're already stressed out with work, let's say. How do they overcome that? How do number one, women stop blaming themselves? And how do couples work together in a relationship to overcome that?
Number one, ladies, do not blame yourselves. 48% of infertility is a male contributing factor. And within that 48%, 30 to 40% is a sole male factor. So please do not blame yourselves.
But then what if the man's blaming himself?
Don't blame yourself. No one should blame themselves. It's just, you know, if you have a virus, an infection, you're not going to blame yourself. This is just something that's happening in your body, and you need to try and work with your medical team and work holistically and integrative, including other things in your lifestyle, to find out the why is this happening. Because you may look on the outside at your partner and be like, well, he's quite slim, he goes to the gym, he's not a major drinker, he's never smoked. Why does he only have 2% morphology, like the shape? Why has he got high DNA fragmentation? Start investigating into the why and find out what, because I think your reproductive health is a signifier of everything else that's going on in your body. It's not working alone outside your body, it's in your body.
Okay.
So what has led up to that? And I think finding out what could be those contributing factors are empowering, because quite often there's things you can do about it. Then there's less blame within self.
So how would I go about that? So, you know, I'm a woman in her early 30s.
Yeah.
Going to be 32 this year. Very sad. I always thought, you know, after 30 it was going to be less alarming. But now I'm like, oh my God, I'm 32. I'm old.
Don't be saying that.
Sorry.
I'm 51 this
Sorry.
year.
Know your audience, Shivani. But, how would I know if I'm fertile or not?
You don't know. So go and get checked.
What would I get checked?
Go and say to your, I'm going to get bashed at the moment for what I'm about to say, but I don't care because that GP isn't in front of me. I'm going to say it. Lie to your GP and say you've been trying for 2 years, because otherwise you're not going to get your fertility check. Because if you don't know, there could be all sorts of things wrong with you and you don't know. So say you are 30 or 28 and you don't know, and you're thinking maybe I'll start trying for a child at 34. Well, there might be certain things that need doing. You might have endometriosis. You might have a thyroid issue. All of these things need to be leveled out first.
Before you try.
And if you start at 34, it might take a year, 2 years to sort all those things out. But if you went to your GP at 28 and got in the system and started those investigations, then you've already got a bit of time.
Why should we have to lie? Why can you not get an appointment?
Because you can't get an appointment. They say you have to try for a certain amount of time. And I'm like, but what happens if your time's running out?
Right, okay.
What happens if your time's running out? It shouldn't be, and now, what happens if your time is running out and by the time you've tried those 2 years, you're too old for IVF?
When are you too old for IVF? And when is the perfect time to have a baby?
Too old for IVF is postcode lottery, unfortunately.
Really?
Check out, I'm not affiliated with them, Fertility Mapper. They're free. It will tell you what the age range is in your area. All of these things, yeah.
In your area?
Yeah, because it's different.
Why?
Different postcode. I've got no idea. They were going on about this in Parliament a few weeks ago. It's not fair.
So depending on where you live determines at what age you can or cannot have IVF?
Yeah.
Both privately or on the NHS?
Oh, only on the NHS, sorry. I should have explained that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And privately in the UK, there's certain age cutoffs, but in Prague, they've got a higher age limit.
Why?
I don't know. I guess they don't see as much of an issue. Also, BMI, they have a higher BMI cutoff rate in Prague and Greece as well than we do in the UK.
So what does that mean?
Your body mass index. So if you're a little bit larger, it's been seen in studies that fertility is lower and your chance of IVF success is lower. So therefore, if your BMI is too big, they're not going to accept you until you get into a safer range.
Right, but in Prague that doesn't apply.
It's just higher.
Okay, interesting. That's so fascinating.
So people do have options, They might have some kind of reasoning that they can't get a lower BMI for them. It might be medical reasons. It might be some drugs that they're put on. Certain steroids, medication make you put on weight. So it's part of why I wrote the book, is to educate people that are other places that you can go to that may, that you will be accepted.
I remember when I learned in another podcast, we are born with the amount of eggs we will have for the rest of our life.
Not even born. So as soon as you're in your mummy, all of your eggs are in there. Yeah. And then by the time you're born, you've already lost lots of eggs. And then, because they're absorbed into the body. And then by the time you actually start your period, your first ever period, you've already lost so many of those eggs as well.
Do you lose eggs every time you're on your period?
No, it can happen before that as well.
Wow.
Otherwise, we'd have the amount of eggs you're born with, we'd be having periods all the time.
Really?
Which most ladies don't want.
No, I don't. So at what point do I know how many eggs I have left?
You need to go and get checked. I mean, you can. There's lots of private, independent places. If your GP has watched this podcast and thinks you might be lying, or you've listened to Liberty Mills, there's lots of places you can go and get tested. In any major city, there's a lot of independent places that you can go and get a test for under like £200.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I can test how many eggs I have, but I cannot test the quality of them, can I?
No.
So what's the use?
Because in general, the larger amount of eggs you've got, you're more likely to have some good ones. and earlier. So a lot of ladies as well. I've got a lot of business ladies at the moment in different countries around the world. This isn't just a UK issue, who are freezing their eggs.
At what age would you recommend freezing your eggs, though?
As early as possible.
So,
because you don't know what the future's going to hold. You don't know if you're going to get a really bad infection or anything that could affect your body. We don't know what the future holds.
An infection could affect the amount of eggs you have.
No, not the, but the quality. Like I had, or you might develop an autoimmune disease. You might have to go on some drugs, certain drugs you can't be on while you're trying to have a child. For example, like methotrexate. You can't take methotrexate, which is given to people with autoimmune, arthritis. You can't take that drug if you're trying to conceive.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So someone actually messaged me and said, I'm 35. Is it too late for me to freeze my eggs?
No.
Why not?
Because, you can, there's so many reasons. I have ladies who are 40 that are going to freeze their eggs because at 42, they might want to have a child, or they're giving it 2 more years to find a partner, and then they're just going to do it on their own with sperm donor. I'd go and get checked out.
What's really interesting is that in your 20s, that's when I was told is the prime time to have a child, right? It's your late 20s when you have the most amount of eggs, you're less likely to miscarry, you're less likely to go through any complications. But you said you're actually dealing with a lot of people in their 20s who are going through these complications.
I'd say about 30% of my clients are actually in their 20s. You know, they've been blessed enough to meet a partner earlier on, or they've found they've got low, say, sperm motility. If it's a gentleman, and the ladies maybe got, some of issues, or they might have a thyroid issue, so they know to go, or they have been trying for a while. Yeah, I've got clients as young as 24.
Wow. I always say this because if you're lucky enough to meet someone in your 20s, and I say it's lucky because it is lucky to find the person you want to be with for the rest of your life in your 20s, then great. It is amazing. But I think it's become increasingly difficult to find somebody in your 20s because of this whole age of comparison, and because we're told to find our soulmate, and because we're told to find the one. So a lot of people actually meet people a lot later in their life. There's also, less pressure now in terms of you don't have to be married by a certain age, and people understand that they should be happy instead of just ticking all these boxes. So what I've seen is there's lots of people in their 30s right now who are struggling to think about, if they haven't met somebody, what do they do? Because they're a bit scared to freeze their eggs, number one. But lots of people who are meeting their partners in their 30s are now struggling to conceive. Yeah. So when I tell people don't rush to get married, people always say to me, but you have a biological clock.
Yeah. And also there's a socio-economic factor. In many cities like London, it's hard. Where are you going to live in your 20s? What, in a shared house with your child?
Yeah, so true.
Most people don't want to do that. I left London 6 years ago, and I've got friends in their 30s, 40s. Some people don't even get their own first property till they're 35.
Yeah.
Or 40 even.
Yeah, it's true. It's really, really difficult. So I kind of want to start with the first part. If somebody is in their 30s and they haven't met their partner, and they're very nervous to freeze their eggs, because there is still a huge stigma, by the way. A lot of people are very scared to say, I'm going to freeze my eggs. And the reason for that is because people then think they're not serious about finding their partner because you've got a backup option. What advice would you give to them?
You don't know until you know. So I'd go and get as many checkups. Just start looking after yourself. Look at your vitamin D levels. Get your thyroid checked, because that needs to be working perfectly, and your thyroid antibodies needs to be checked. If you do have any aches, pains, go and get those checked out. If you're not pooing every day. I have so many women that are constipated, and they just say, oh, but I've always been like that. And I'm like, but if you're eating 3 meals a day and you're only going to the toilet every other day, something's not matching up.
I don't have that problem. Yeah. Thank God.
So, or if you're suffering from really painful periods, speak up. If your periods are going on for a long time, if you're bleeding through your tampon and your sanitary towel, I have ladies that come to me like that, and your GP or your gynecologist says, oh, well, try this pill, or you need the coil, or it's just bad luck. Some people are like that. No, it's not just bad luck. Something's going on in your body and you need to sort it out.
But apparently doctors aren't willing to listen.
They're not. So ask for another, go and see another one, get a second, a third opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still not getting somewhere and you're in pain and, you know, I've had ladies who were, like I say, bleeding through their tampon, their towel. They couldn't even take their children to school. They had to put bathroom towels on their seat because while they were on the first 2 days of the period, they would bleed through everything just on a 10-minute journey.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the doctor said, you've already got a couple of children. Why don't you just have a hysterectomy? Hysterectomy isn't a diagnosis, you know, that's not solving the issue, is it? Right. And now I worked with that lady just for 4 months and her periods are fine. I've had a number of people like that.
So what do you do then that's so differently? So how did you get that lady from...
So many things. Changed her diet, sent her for some acupuncture, looked at her stress levels because quite often we almost in this modern world use stress as a badge of honor. Oh, I'm so stressed. I'm really busy at the moment. Oh, life's so hectic. I'm so stressed. Certain amount of stress is great for us, but too much of it is not good for us and it's not good for your hormones.
How do I know I'm stressed?
Are you sleeping at night?
Yes.
Are you dehydrated?
Yes.
Are you waking up at the night?
I clench my jaw a lot.
Clenching your jaw. Do you wake up feeling refreshed or do you need to just go straight have a coffee before you can sort of come round?
Does anybody wake up feeling refreshed though? Sorry, I just don't know any. No,
I did
you
today.
Don't.
I did.
You wake up feeling refreshed?
I did. And I ate late for me. I ate at like 7:30, 8 and normally at 5:30, 6.
How many hours do you sleep?
7.5.
I don't think I've ever woke up refreshed. Very rarely in my life I've woke up refreshed.
I'm not really. I didn't used to though. I used to wake up and be
Really?
like, oh, I need some sugar.
But I've changed my routine now. Now I eat dinner like 5:36 and I'm in bed by like 9:30, 10. But I still don't wake up refreshed.
It's about your quality of sleep.
But I'm passed out.
I know, but you can be passed out and not have great quality.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I just find really challenging at the moment is that there's just so much to consider and so much to do. And actually the reason, this morning I woke up and my jaw is absolutely killing me because and I am stressed at the moment. I'm not going to lie, I do have a lot going on. But for the last 2 weeks, I know I've been clenching my jaw. But today, it's like aching me from either side. So I need to go for one of those buckle massage things.
Yeah, or I'll show you after. This is not pretty, so I won't show you on
camera.
But you can put your thumb.
Yeah.
'Cause I used to click my jaw about 40 times a day.
Oh.
It was that tight. So you can put your thumb and put it inside like there and massage out.
Yes.
So it would be like there, massage out.
Yeah,
and it really, really, really relieves. Also, your hips. So your jaw goes like this, right? Your hips do the same thing but open. So if you gua sha your hips, it really helps your jaw.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to do that. But see, that's another thing I've got to add onto my list. Out of the 10,000, like gua shaing my face.
I know and also I get a lot of
dry
stick.
brushing.
People are like, how are you meant to do all that? I'm like, don't do it all.
Yeah.
Don't do
you
it all.
can't do all of it every day.
Don't do it all.
Yeah.
Just choose 2 things a week that you're going to do.
True.
And then once you've done that for a month and that becomes your norm, then stack on another 2 things.
True.
And then in 6 months, you're probably on your way.
You mentioned that food was also a really, really important thing to help this lady get from, you basically saved her from having a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
How important is food when it comes to fertility?
Food first. I always say food first. Food is your fuel. I think in this modern world, I think we've almost abused food in so many levels. So from the source, the amount of chemicals that, there's a guy that I follow on Instagram, he's a farmer, and he said something brilliant the other day. He said, I'd love to go into the supermarket and not see organic carrots, but see you can have carrots or chemically sprayed carrots with 4 different, or whatever, how many chemicals it is. I think it's potatoes. I've got the numbers the wrong way around, but either way, it's quite scary. Are sprayed 14 times with 20 chemicals.
Why?
Right? Potatoes. just a potato? Well, because of worms can get in there and all sorts. And, potatoes are one of the biggest crops. You've got chips, you've got mashed potato, you've got crisps, all of those things. So from the source, we're already fighting against it. Also, our soil is lacking in the minerals that it had 40, 60 years ago. So we're already fighting. When, I remember, I'm 50, 51 this year. I remember going into the supermarket as a child and apples were just out and you would put them in a bag and then take them home. It wasn't even a plastic bag. It was a paper bag. Now they're already wrapped in plastic with a plastic sticker on. Things like that. There was a study in Rome, I think about 2 weeks ago, it was published, that microplastics have been found in follicular fluid for the first time.
What does that mean?
So where your follicles are stimulating to produce your nice, lovely eggs, they found microplastics in there. And microplastics are endocrine disruptors, meaning that they disrupt your body and your body's hormone expressions. So if we're fighting it from there, we do have to be, as much as possible, considered, I would say. Not freaked out about it, but consider, am I able financially to pay the extra 40p to get my carrots organic? Or, where can maybe I'll stop doing my nails and I'll get organic food. A remove and replace financially, because it's not for everyone. Or I'll soak my veggies in bicarb, for 20 minutes, then rinse them off. All sorts of things.
I guess the difficulty is, right, is if we go back to, let's say, egg freezing, it's not on the NHS. That's a cost to you.
No,
right?
Yeah.
So already there's such a stigma around talking about it, but then also there's a huge financial cost and people are struggling.
Huge. And also it's not guaranteed.
Exactly.
It's not guaranteed. If you go and freeze your eggs, it's not guaranteed. Some may thaw and not be great. I even had one lady, I think she had 19 and none of them were fine.
No.
To use, yeah. None of them fertilized.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that's not even guaranteed.
So what I'm saying is you've got a cost to egg freezing. Then now there's a cost to not buying things in plastic. Now plastic is absolutely everywhere. It is everywhere. So unless I'm going to an organic farm shop or unless I don't live in London and I live, next to a farm or something.
And you can grow your own.
And you can grow your own.
I'll have the time to grow your own.
Exactly. Another thing I have to add on to my 10 skincare routine. What advice do you give to the average, everyday person who's just trying to get by?
Well, certain low-cost supermarkets do quite a few organic things. So you can go there. The one beginning with A and the one beginning with L.
Yeah.
They do them. They do quite a few organic ones. And the rest, like I say, soak, use bicarb. Just, I get my little 5-year-old loves grapes and they're one of the worst things. They're on the dirty dozen list.
Why? What's
because
wrong
they're
with
very
grapes?
porous. So they absorb, just think celery, cucumber, grapes, strawberries. Also on the dirty dozen list.
What's the dirty dozen list?
Okay, so Pesticide UK and the Environmental Working Group, that's the American one, publish every year a dirty dozen list. And the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, publish a clean 15 list. However, Pesticide Action UK don't do a clean list. So it's about how many, they go around all the supermarkets and find, they even do a supermarket list as well, which is great, of which ones have got the worst products in.
Which one has?
Can't remember. Because I only look at the ones that have the best.
Who's got the best then?
Waitrose obviously had the least amount, but like we're all rich. I think it's really important to look at that. And they even do like a PDF and you can save it on your phone. So when you go out and about, like I know I go to Lidl to get my carrots, broccoli and cucumber because they do organic. Oh, and they sometimes do organic apples.
Okay.
And like, for example, the carrots are only 99p.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And your cucumber's 95p.
Okay, amazing. So there are alternatives there.
But I soak my grapes because they don't do an organic grapes. And
And
I
you
can't
soak them in
afford them.
bicarb?
Yeah, for 20 minutes.
For 20
Or
minutes?
usually a bit longer because I've forgotten that I'm soaking them. And I've gone off to do something else.
So what you're trying to say is that these are certain things that you can do to help your fertility, no matter what age you are.
No matter what age you are, or even, do you know, I even say this book, actually, and my publisher was like, well, that isn't a sellable thing. I was like, it's not just for people that are trying to conceive now. Get this book and read it if you're buying the food for your teenager, you know, because of the rate that sperm is declining. Studies show that by 2045, the industrialized countries, most people will need assisted fertility. That's only 20 years away. So if you've got a 10-year-old and you're feeding them all of these things from plastic things, try to remove and replace as you go along, because you're helping them may not have to go down IVF and all of those things. You know, think of their health. You know, that's why I was saying everyone needs this book, as far as I'm concerned, that I wrote, because you've all got someone that you might be cooking for, or you know, and you want to invest in their fertility. It's like, I don't use bleach in my house.
Why?
Because it's a thyroid disruptor. Even the British Thyroid Association says if you've got a thyroid issue, you can have a look online, it's NHS, avoid using bleach, because it affects your thyroid. So I've got a little girl living at my house who is my child, and I do not want her to have a thyroid issue if I can help it.
I love that you said you've got a little girl living at your house. Who's your daughter?
Who is my daughter?
I really love that you finished that.
And I want, I didn't just nick her.
That's so interesting because, okay, so bleach, I always put them in my toilets. My mum came the other day, put it in my sink because she was like, you need to put bleach in here. And also, someone came around and put them in my flower pot because apparently bleach is good to preserve flowers.
Oh, so 2 of the professional careers of people that have the worst fertility are cleaners and hairdressers. What do they both use?
Oh my God.
Bleach.
I put bleach in my hair though.
I don't know about this. I'm not a hairdresser, or what they call trichologist. Yeah. It's okay if you put it on your hair, but not on your scalp.
Yeah, I don't put it on my scalp.
Yeah, but on your hair isn't as bad because it's already dead by then.
Okay, fine.
But it's on your scalp. But
gosh, I mean, this is
I don't know, because I'm not actually a scientist or a trichologist or whatever you call them, but that's what a trichologist told me.
You've mentioned a few times in this podcast hormone disruptor, this disruptor. What on earth is a hormone disruptor? What does that mean?
It's so now we are more estrogen dominant. I can't remember the guy that wrote this book, but it's brilliant. It's called Estrogen Nation. I think it has it's white with a green thing on, and it really explains that question, but in a whole book. Like, it's that deep. Wow. It's really, really important. We're becoming more estrogen dominant. So you just think, many people are on the contraceptive pill. I was put on the contraceptive pill as a virgin at 14 because I had acne. You think of plastics, phthalates that they put in perfume, so fragrance. So it might be in your shampoo, in your perfume, in the clothes that you wash. Like if it's fragrance, quite often they'll put phthalates in it to stick the fragrance to the washing powder. And then we sleep in those. You might, use your towel, then you put hairspray on, you put your perfume on, in your makeup, all of those things. Now, 70% of what we put on our skin, I was coming here and I was like, as I left, I was like, my pores are quite open on my face. I said, I need to get back to microneedling. So if you think all of this makeup that I've put on is going straight into my skin, if ladies my age are using HRT and we rub a cream or a gel on to settle our hormones, why is that going to settle my hormones? But then people say, it doesn't matter if I put self-tan on, that's not going to affect my hormones. Well, you can't have it one way and not have it the other.
How do we know our hormones are disrupted though?
Acne, gut issues, anxiety sometimes. There's a great book called What If It's Not Depression, about how all these things can actually affect your mental health as well. Because our body isn't set up for this modern world, really, to detox it all. Microplastics have been found in breast milk, in babies' blood. They're not putting it into their bodies, are they?
Do you have any plastics in your house?
Trying to think. The odd plastic toy, because my daughter's insisted on it. It's my money with a northern accent. I can spend it. It's only small. That was last weekend.
Aww.
She insisted on going on one of those machines, actually in Lidl. She said, go and buy some carrots so I can get the plastic toy.
Aww.
So, but no, I've removed all of my plastic utensils. So, what I flip my gram flour wrap with will be wooden. So I've had to learn to be a better cook.
I have wood and everything.
Yeah. So I've had clients, I say, send me your spatula. What does it look like? It's all melted and
the
disgusting.
pink one. Yeah,
and I'm like, but then that's going into your food.
Yeah.
Not good.
I think I actually do use a plastic chopping board because the other day someone was like, you should remove that. And I was like, oh my God, I actually completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
I've seen a stainless steel one now.
Oh, wow. Oh, glass.
A glass one. Yeah,
Glass.
that's true.
And they're quite low cost as well.
Yeah, that's true, actually. A glass one. I will change it. I just feel that there is so much stuff in our lives that are so integrated, right? I saw an actually really, really interesting point the other day where it said, but we used to eat it. And it showed what our parents used to eat versus what we used to eat. What our parents used to eat was Heinz tomato ketchup in a glass bottle with like 6 ingredients.
Exactly.
What we eat is Heinz tomato ketchup in a plastic bottle with like 10,100 other ingredients. What our parents used to eat was everything and they were showing so many different examples. And it really made me think that, when we're saying, our parents used to eat that, it's not the same.
No.
The crisps that they used to eat were very different from the crisps that we eat.
Yeah.
The chocolates that they used to eat, because all of these additives.
The bread.
Yeah, the bread.
The bread. It
It's
didn't
crazy.
have the bread went off. I remember my dad get the bread from the bakery. He would slice half and freeze half because it would go off so quickly.
Yeah.
Bread now, my eldest just moved house and I was clearing out our house and she had some bread. And it was probably like 10 days afterwards I'd gone in and I hadn't moved that and it still looked perfect.
Really?
I'm like, that's 10 days old. Or I don't know how long she'd had it.
10 days past the due date. So
Yeah,
she must have bought it before.
Yeah.
My gosh. It's quite crazy. But, it is becoming very difficult for people because, look, if you're in a situation right now and you're stuck at home and you can't have a baby because you're in your 30s, let's say you've been told you're infertile, you've been told that there's no hope. And then there's all of this stuff on top that's saying your diet needs to change, you need to do acupuncture, you need to do Reiki and energy healing, whatever it is. It's overwhelming, but how do you not blame yourself? I mean, we're saying not to blame the woman or the man, but you're going to.
I'd say don't blame yourself because
Who do you blame then?
You don't work for Heinz.
You're buying it.
If you don't know, you don't know. If you don't, I was even caught out the other day. I bought some nut butter and I opened it up and I was like, oh, that looks a bit glossy. Turned it over, 95% nuts, 5% sunflower oil. I put it in the bin.
What's wrong with 5% sunflower oil?
Well, you don't need it. Why do you need it? Nuts are oily enough as it is. Sunflower oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil. It's one of the crops sprayed with glyphosate. Glyphosate? Someone will correct me on that. I am dyslexic, so give me a break. It's really, really bad for the body. It's one of the worst things for your body. So you just don't want it in. So that was actually cheaper more expensive than the normal one I buy. So I was paying extra for the oil.
And why are all these oils so bad for you? You said that it's sprayed with something.
Yeah, so a lot of people are arguing online and in the wellness space about, omega-3s, omega-6s, and omega-6s are inflammatory and all this. That aside, I just don't want something that's sprayed massively with chemicals and the reason why I'm so anti this is I used to eat quite a healthy-ish diet, but I didn't think to look over on the opposite side of the label. And I was naturally born with a weaker immune system. And then I developed an autoimmune disease and I was so ill I do not wish that on any other person. And if you have a choice and you are educated and you can say, actually, and quite often the cheaper brands do have less rubbish in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you start in the habit of turning things over, it might make your shop 15, 20 minutes longer. But once you know, you know.
Yeah, so true, actually.
And it's just not worth it. I had, early 30s, I had a Zimmer frame. I'm probably 9 3/4 stone now. I was down to 5 1/4 stone. I had a rash here, butterfly rash, lesions. I lost all of my money paying for extra things. I couldn't drive my daughter to school. I had to get her a taxi. I could no longer work as a model. That was all I'd ever done since I was 17. I still had to pay the mortgage, so I paid all my savings. In the end, I ended up with disability apparatus. I don't wish that on anybody. It's not a quality of life. In this country, 1 in 10 people suffer from an autoimmune disease, and it's on the rise.
Oh my gosh.
Women are 4 times more likely to develop an autoimmune disease than a man.
When you say develop, what does that mean?
Develop.
Like you can just get it at any time?
Yeah, you can be diagnosed at any time.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So we'll have fibromyalgia, arthritis, lupus, all of these things, more likely than a man. Contraceptive pill, we're put on that. Men aren't. We wear more makeup in general than a man does. Nails, we get nails done. I was researching this. I have a new client, and she's really lovely, and she does all the stuff. I know, all the stuff. And I said, what about your nails? And she was willing to go to acupuncture, hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy, have IVs, make her own bread. She was like, I can't get rid of my nails, can't get rid of my nails now. And I said, let's look into it. Let's look what it's actually made out of. And there's something in it. I'll find the word, the chemical word for it. But it's basically super glue. And that's how, when you put the heat on it underneath the lights, that's what sets it. No. And like, if I told you, I'm going to take you and pay £35 to put a coloured super glue, and I'm going to light set it on your fingers, would you wear it? And she was like, no. I said, but that's what you're doing.
So getting your nails done, your gel nails done, are a hormone disruptor, and could it affect your fertility?
I'm not saying it's going to affect your fertility and it's going to give you a miscarriage or stop you getting pregnant. I'm just saying you add that to the microplastics, to the bleach, to your stress, to the fact you're not sleeping, to you might have an undiagnosed thyroid problem, to you might have low vitamin D. 2, you might be really low in magnesium. Next one, you might be low in magnesium. Yeah. Put all those together.
Yes.
And as a constellation, it's too much of a burden. But if you start pulling those back, that might be the 10, 20% that makes a difference. So isn't it worth it?
So true, actually. I mean, one thing that I do that's really terrible is I rip my gel nails off, which means I'm putting all of those toxins in my mouth. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, that tastes gross. And I'm like, oh God. And then I'm like, oh my God, why am I biting my nails off? Because I just ripped the gel off. Like, it's been 1 week. These will come off in like a week.
Nail varnishes out there now that are, like you can get free from bread or milk or even a pizza or whatever. You can get free from nail varnish. So they'll have less chemicals in.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's like some that are 13 from, 10 from, 12 from. So there's still lots of options.
Okay, that's actually really
helpful. And it's about lowering that. I'm not asking everyone to be a crunchy mum. I'm not a crunchy mum.
What's a crunchy mum?
Someone said, you're not really like a crunchy mum, are you? I said, what's a crunchy mum? And there are people that like have nothing, they won't wear makeup. They'll make their own nut milk. I'm not asking everyone to be like that. That's great if you want to be like that.
Yeah.
I don't have the time.
Right.
But if you are going to have a non-dairy milk, like back in the day, our parents just had cow's milk.
Yeah.
Or goat's milk, or they made their own nut milk. Now you're getting nut milk that's got emulsifiers in it, rapeseed oil, all of these other things.
I have to tell you, I was having Oatly so much. And I actually have asked lots of people on the podcast about it, and lots of people have said it's fine, right? I think for me, it really messed me up. I was having 2 matcha lattes when I was going out, right? And everyone makes it with Oatly. And they only give me an option of whole milk or Oatly. So I was like, I'll have oat. And I actually really liked it. I was getting so many spots. I was so bloated and I felt so low. And someone once said to me, okay, just try cut out Oatly, but it's got these emulsifiers in. I've cut it out for 2 weeks. I'm back to like what I used to be. I'm not shaming Oatly. I'm giving them as an example because they have loads of emulsifiers in them.
Emulsifiers trash your gut. Really, really
bad.
trash your gut. And that's not me saying it. That's like a head of the gastro team at Sheffield Hospital, because I also treat obviously people with autoimmune, help them out, but a lot of teenagers as well who've got gut issues. And I said, get them to check. They say cut out gluten, but what about emulsifiers? They said, yes, they do really affect your gut, but we can't tell you that because it's in so many things. It'd make eating really difficult.
Really?
Yeah.
So why is it legal then?
I've got absolutely no idea.
Who's
but
kind of doing
we
that?
have
Yeah.
a choice. We have a choice. I went in COVID, I couldn't get the normal milk that I buy. You know, you had to book 3 weeks in advance, didn't you, to get a food delivery.
Yeah.
So I went to my local store and I got an almond milk. I was putting on weight. And I was like, wow, how am I putting on weight? I'm doing all of these, you know, free classes online, everything. I was hiking for 2 hours a day. I was like, what's going on? I was going crazy. What's going on? Had maltodextrin in it, my milk. And I was having smoothies, all sorts of things, putting in milks in my omelette, everything every day, making my protein shakes. And it was that swapped it back afterwards.
fine.
And I lost the weight because it had maltodextrin, where it's got a really high GI, and they put it in a lot of non-dairy milks, in a lot of vegan foods as well. So if you don't have maltodextrin, it's really not great for you. And they're allowed to put it in because it's legally not a sugar.
How interesting. You know, this is the thing. This is what I actually love about, you know, this movement at the moment, is that we're learning so much about our food. We're learning so much about what exactly we're eating, and we're educating ourselves on things like microplastics, you know, hormone disruptors. And I just think that the biggest thing we've got to kind of take away to give to everyone who's watching and listening today is empower yourself to make the best decisions, because, you know, they might not be right for you. You know, if you're a family of 4 and you're struggling right now and you want to have a baby, you might not be able to go to the farmer's market and get raw milk and raw honey and all of this stuff, right? But if you can, maybe go to Lidl and get the 99p organic carrots, and that's the one change that you've made this day.
That's the one change.
That's excellent, and that's great.
And you get off your screens late at night because that's free. You go to bed at the same time. Doesn't matter if it's Wednesday night or Saturday night. That's free. You start journaling, because any poison is better out than in, and stress, anxiety, all of those things, woulda, coulda, shoulda, that we all often wake up with or we go to bed with. Get it out on the page. Write it down.
Talk to me about that. What do you mean stress is better out than in?
Stress depletes magnesium. So, for example, I take 400 mg of magnesium every night, but it's been quite busy with the book coming up, and people are like, you need to do a newsletter and you've got to be, can you do an article for this? And I'm like, I'm dyslexic. This is really tricky for me. It's not, I can't just knock it out of the bag. So I've been taking extra magnesium in the morning because I know my stress is depleting my magnesium. And then when you have less magnesium, you're more stressed. Right?
Really?
Yeah. So I need to put in the magnesium to help that I'm depleting it and help me not be as stressed. So it's little things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to take magnesium. I think I'm going to start taking it now. But I also just feel like I'm taking so many supplements. You know, I take iron, vitamin B, B12, vitamin D. I take like
That's the thing as well. So many people, the supplement world is huge and it's unregulated. So you can get a magnesium from one place and a magnesium from the other place. Like, so many people come to me with, I'm taking this supplement, that supplement. I say, okay, for fertility, you need this amount. But in this supplement, it might be a Pregna whatever supplement, but it's not actually got the actual amounts in that have made a difference in clinical trials. For example, one very famous, I think it's the number 1 male leading supplement in the UK. You need around, I think, 66 mg of zinc for a man, that's what the clinical trials have been done on, it's only got 14, right, in that supplement. So what's it doing, you know? So you really need to look at what the clinical trials, the differences mean for like omega-3, it's 1 gram. Whereas you look in a lot of supplements, it's only 300 milligrams. So you're going to have to take a lot of omega-3 for it to make the difference that the clinical trials have said makes a difference to egg quality. That's why I like some standalone supplements to go along with it.
Yeah.
Also, find out where you are. There's online at-home tests you can have for omega-3. Vitamin D, really important. You don't want to over-supplement either because that can mess up your calcium. So you need to find out where you are before you start supplementing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think recommendations are, no matter the age, just go check out where you are, right? Where you're lacking.
If you can afford to.
Yes. Well, you said that you can get tests for like £100,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
blood
but-
tests you
but
can get from your GP.
Usually every 6 months you can get a blood test with your GP.
Yeah, I need to actually book mine, which is a good reminder for me. So get your blood test done.
Yeah,
figure
vitamin
out-
D you can do at-home ones.
Okay.
For about £30. What else you can do omega-3 at-home tests for around £30 as well.
Okay, get your levels tracked, get the supplements you need, and also really supplement that diet with really healthy food.
Good food, really, really good food. The reason I mentioned vitamin D is so important because it's vital for fetal development. And with many people in the UK not meeting the markers of, optimum range, and then if you're Black or Asian, 64% are deficient, that's going to affect your fertility.
It's crazy.
It's really going to affect your fertility. If you're in a hot country, I've got clients in Dubai who've got vitamin D at a level of 13. When you think optimum is anywhere between 70 and 90, and they're 13 because you're in a hot country, you're going to be staying indoors.
Mine was 17 actually when I was in Bodrum.
17.
Yeah.
Mine's 83, and I supplement a lot. And mine's 83.
Yeah,
I live up north.
They were
It's not
very
a lot of sun.
shocked. They were like, you need to get this drink in you right now. It was very, very low.
That lack of vitamin D is going to affect your gut, fetal development, mental health as well.
They did say that.
Yeah. So checking things like that are really important. I've had GPs that have refused vitamin D tests to ladies who are struggling to conceive or have had recurrent miscarriage. And I've had to send them back the BMJ guidance on what to do of recurrent miscarriage. And one of the first things they say is vitamin D testing. So if anyone's out there and they're struggling to get the test, I don't mind. Well, my daughter is crafting in the garden or whatever crazy den she's building. DM me. I will find you their own data, send it to you, and you take that into your GP. I do this because it gives me so much pain when I see people coming to me crying and saying they don't know what to do. They feel helpless. And there's so much you can do. And there's so much that the NHS can do as well.
I want to go through some of the questions now that some people have asked.
Hopefully I can help.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. So what if you don't have the funds to go private? Because what are the options to freeze eggs and get scans done if your insurance doesn't cover it?
It depends I don't know people's bank accounts. I know Prague is a lot cheaper.
Oh, really?
So much cheaper. I mean, you can get IVF for around 2,900 there, a full package of IVF.
But then travel and all the rest of it.
Travel's a lot cheap, quite cheap compared to, you might be starting at 9,000 in the UK. That's a lot.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
For IVF, yeah.
£9,000?
£8,000 to £9,000, if not more, for one round.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. How do you block out all the noise and everyone else's opinions?
I know people can be so well-meaning, can't they? I was told to get a dog. I was told, you already have a child, it's okay. I was told to adopt, which is something I did look into. But everyone has their own journey, right? And I think the more we speak up, because 1 in 7 couples in the UK are going through a fertility journey, and that's a lot, and we're not sharing. You know, I've bought some of my own books, and I'm actually going to go on the tube and then give them out to anyone that promises that they will read them on the tube, because we shouldn't have to suffer in silence. No one should, and we shouldn't have to feel shame, and we shouldn't have to listen to everyone's opinion of saying, "Oh, it'll be all right," or "Just relax," or "Just go on holiday," because there's so many factors. My book's 400 pages. I could have written 4,000 pages, but I didn't want to bore everyone. Look it around. I wanted it to be slightly. People are, why don't you put that in? Why don't you put PRP in? And I was like, well, otherwise it was never going to get out there. Empower yourself. There's so many. There's Fertility Mapper, Fertility Network Action UK. There's so many charities out there to support people and empower you and put you on the right track that are free. So I think empower yourself and just say, oh, I don't really want to talk about it at the moment, or I would like to talk about it.
Which foods boost fertility if you're over 35?
Non-chemicalized foods. Stay away from the ultra-processed foods. Natural things like asparagus, pomegranate, watery fruits, hydration foods are so important for the body. Asparagus is great for men. Omega-3 foods, so flax, walnuts, your oily fishes, also green foods, so your folate foods. All of those. Bone broth, amazing, great for warming the uterus as well. Uterine lining, very good. Organic bone broth, make it yourself, cheaper.
Men's health and all the things that we should be aware of to make chances more successful.
Okay, men's health. Where do I start? Men need a space. Men need a space to talk. Men don't have a space to talk. Men are not often supported by their GP. They're told, oh, but what's going on with your wife? They're not even, some of them not even been physically examined. They've not given blood tests. Men, we need to speak up for you. I am 100% there.
Yeah.
I am championing the men. Also men, obviously no smoking, no vaping.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. No binge drinking. Get a physical exam. Check you don't have any large varicoceles. Also men need folate. Not often talked about, trying to get pregnant. Oh, make sure you take folic acid for the women, but no one tells men they also need it. It's really important. There's so many female fertility supplements out there and not a lot of men.
Yeah.
Not a lot of male ones, but 48% is a male factor. They're not even being supported where people could make money on them. They're not being supported.
So true. Someone's just said, dealing with multiple miscarriages and told that I'm perfectly healthy.
That is the worst. That, I think, there is power in language. That is really dishonest. Dishonest of a medical professional to tell someone, you're totally fine. But why have I had 5 miscarriages? Oh, it's just bad luck. But, go on next time, you'll be all right. But you're dealing with that loss each time. It's a grief. I've only had 2 miscarriages in my life, and one took me years and years to get over before I went and had counselling about it. We're told, oh, well, it's fine. At least it's, sort of working next time. I think
that's so true, actually. Like, oh, at least you had a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
People... Mylene Class is doing such great work about that, to give people leave at work after a miscarriage. I had a miscarriage, but I've had ladies that have had a miscarriage and literally then gone on and done a meeting. They've not even gone home. They didn't want to tell anybody.
Yeah.
It's been in the toilet, so, I had an extended lunch. Or I've got an emergency doctor's appointment. And then they've gone on to a meeting.
Things to look out for when selecting a fertility clinic for egg retrieval.
Great one here. It's in I've got 17 or 18 or maybe 21 questions. I can't remember. I need to read my own book again. Questions to ask your fertility clinic, but also shout out, I'm not affiliated to them or anything, but Emma, the embryologist.
Okay.
She works at the Evewell Clinic. She's got her own website and she has, I think, 10 questions to ask your fertility clinic. And she's actually an embryologist.
Wow, okay.
So she knows what you should be looking out for. Because quite often I ask people, what protocol IVF did you have? Don't know. They don't even know. So ask, what if you've had a round elsewhere, what would they do differently? Or if it's the same place, what would they do differently? What protocol would they do? Why are they doing that for you? Tell them about other things in your life as well. You know, if you don't tell them, they can't help.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you do have gut issues, let them. If you are extremely fatigued, let them know. If you do have really random things with your jaw or your gums are bleeding, they're not going to know.
Yeah, so true.
If your gums are bleeding, that's usually a B vitamin deficiency. But if you don't tell them, they're only as good as what you give them. So I think being, you know, integrative with the whole thing, tell them everything if you know, they have time. Or I always tell my clients, write the things down that are wrong with you in other areas and go in and say, do you mind if I just tell you about these? Because it might help.
True.
You know, always, and go in with your questions printed out or written down. If there's two of you, one of you asks the questions and the other one writes them down, the answers, because you can usually forget.
Yeah, so true.
Because it's very overwhelming when you're sort of just going, yeah, okay, yeah, right, when do we start?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you think everyone can do right now at home to increase their fertility?
Ask for help, because so many people are going through this alone. I have clients that are related who tell each other they're going to see me for gut health or to level out their periods, but really it's for fertility. Ask for help. Share your story. Tell each other it's free, you know, and tell everyone else. Tell your dentist. If you see your acupuncturist, tell them. Tell your GP. Some people are going for fertility treatment or whatever, they don't tell the GP. Let everyone know that's dealing with you. Find out what if they do have any kind of policy at work. Start championing for it at work, you know, miscarriage leave, all of these things. Because if we all start shouting from the rooftops together, the system will start to change.
So
if we keep it to ourselves, and I know it's a deeply private matter, and I know it's heartbreaking, but if we don't start speaking up about it, we then have this shame, we then don't talk to anyone, and it's harder to get help. And that's free.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. I feel as if there's so much more we could have covered because, like you said, it's such a big topic. And, you know, I urge everyone to kind of read your book and then, you know, to go onto your website and maybe book a session with you if they have any further questions. But thank you so much for joining me and good luck with the launch of the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.